Vance Boelter, the man suspected of killing a Minnesota lawmaker and wounding another, is now charged with murder after police arrested him on June 15. Vance Boelter is accused of posing as a police officer and fatally shooting former Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark in their home early Saturday in the northern Minneapolis suburbs. Authorities say he also shot Senator John Hoffman, a Democrat, and his wife, Yvette, at their home in a nearby neighborhood.
Law enforcement have apprehended Vance Boelter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's Day alone. To the law enforcement who stand here and the hundreds who were involved in this, the state of Minnesota owes you a deep debt of gratitude. Thank you. You ran towards the danger and you served the state of Minnesota. This is a great example of coordination and collaboration. Multiple agencies, federal, state, and local, coordinating together in a way to protect the public and close this hunt around. Multiple agencies were there as FBI laid hands on it and Minnesota State Patrol put the handcuffs on. One man's unthinkable actions have altered the state of Minnesota. Melissa Hortman was the core of who our values were. She had a hand in so many things that happened. The building that we stand in, she helped usher through so that we could respond from the State Emergency Operations Center with the professionalism and giving the tools necessary to law enforcement to do their job. To Melissa and Mark's family, I cannot fathom your pain and the grief that you're going through. We'll take solace in the memory and the work that Melissa did, and you can rest assured that we will put every ounce of effort that the state of Minnesota has to make sure that justice is served and the individual responsible for this serves the time for the unspeakable act. State grieves with you. To John and Yvette Hoffman, the latest news is Senator Hoffman came out of his final surgery and is moving towards recovery. Yvette is healing. And I think when the story comes out, and I'd like to say on behalf of the state of Minnesota, the heroic actions by the Hoffman family and their daughter Hope saved countless lives, and we are grateful. Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will continue to investigate. We will keep you informed. We'll spare no expense and no work to make sure that that happens. A moment in this country where we watch violence erupt. This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. Now's the time for us to recommit to the core values of this country. And each and every one of us can do it. Talk to a neighbor rather than arguing. Debate an issue. Shake hands. Find common ground. This is who Melissa Hortman was. In the first negotiating session that I had a chance to work with her, she got all the partners in the room, and she provided each and every one of us a copy of a book called Getting to Yes. And the whole premise was debating with a sense of goodwill, a sense of trying to come to compromises that serve everyone. And because of her, we did that. Because of her, we did that year after year after year. That's the embodiment of how things are supposed to work. It's not about hatred. It's not about mean tweets. It's not about demeaning someone. It's leading with grace and compassion and vision and compromise and decency. That was taken from us in Minnesota with the murder of Speaker Hortman. So for each and every one of us to truly honor, and we will continue to honor that spirit, but we will need to do it in just more than actions in a memorial. Conducting ourselves in the spirit that Melissa Hortman did her work is what the country needs to heal. I will once again say the deep debt of gratitude. These professionals standing behind us and countless others. This was, you'll hear from them, incredibly complex. And to take this suspect in with no life of life or injuries to civilian population and to bring him in alive so he can serve justice, which he will do in Minnesota, is an incredible thing that we are grateful for.
authorities on Sunday spotted an abandoned vehicle that the 57-year-old Boelter had been using in rural Sibley County, where he lived. An officer reported he believed he saw Boelter running into the woods, police said. Police called in 20 different tactical teams to search for him. During the search, police said they confirmed someone was in the woods and searched for hours, using a helicopter and officers on foot until they found Boelter. He surrendered to police, crawling out to officers in the woods before he was handcuffed, authorities said. The search for Boelter was the largest manhunt in the state's history, Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley said.
One, I'm very proud to tell you that we took the suspect into custody who was responsible for this. That was within 43 hours of the incident. There's no question that this is the largest manhunt in the state's history. Just down at the scene where he was taken into custody, there was 20 different SWAT teams over an extremely large area hunting this individual down to take him into custody. I believe that the state of Minnesota and certainly the city of Brooklyn Park should be extremely proud of the police officers within the city of Brooklyn Park, but the partnerships that we had are unprecedented between the federal agents, the county, the locals, and others around. It is absolutely an incredible task what went on. Essentially, the Brooklyn Park Police Department was turned over into an operations center, and that's all that hundreds of detectives worked on tirelessly for 43 hours. So while this has come to some conclusion where we've made an arrest, there is a ton of work that needs to be done. So I encourage community members, if there's evidence, information, or other things, please continue to feed that information to the Brooklyn Park Police Department so that we can fully investigate this and present a complete case to both the federal jurisdiction and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office.
Friends and former colleagues described Boelter as a devout Christian who attended an evangelical church and went to campaign rallies for President Donald Trump. He held deeply religious and politically conservative views, telling a congregation in Africa 2 years ago that the U.S. was in a bad place where most churches didn't oppose abortion. His friends also say that he didn't talk about politics often and didn't seem extreme. The Hoffmans were attacked first at their home in Champlin early Saturday. A criminal complaint indicated their adult daughter called 911 to say a masked person had come to the door and shot her parents. Melissa Hortman was a lifelong Minneapolis area resident who rose up to become a powerful Democratic leader in the state's deeply divided legislature. Elected to the Minnesota House in 2004, she helped pass liberal initiatives like free lunches for public school students in 2023 as the chamber's speaker. This year, she helped break a budget impasse that threatened to shut down the state government. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, who were shot at their home in Champlin, a Minneapolis suburb, were recovering from multiple gunshot wounds. Hoffman is chair of the Senate Committee overseeing human resources spending. He also served on a state workforce development board with Boelter, who was twice appointed to the board. It was not clear if or how well they knew each other.